Hello and welcome to the last video for this first winter 2013 exam. These are questions 7 and 8. I know you've been in here for, well, I guess a little under an hour now if you've watched them all sequentially. Just hang in there a little bit longer. These are the last two questions, so if you're practicing, go ahead and pause and start working through them. Those of you who took the test will go ahead and take up question 7. A firm has production function y equals root z1 plus root z2. In the short run, Z2 is fixed at 4. Each unit of input 1 costs it $10, and each unit of input 2 costs it $20. What is the short run supply function? Okay, so I've written down here the production function, price of input 1, price of input 2, and the fixed quantity of Z2. Right? Price of input 2 is part of fixed cost. You don't even need it. It's somewhat of a ruse. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this production function, substituting in that Z2 equals 4, and thus that root Z2 equals 2. Okay, so that means that y minus 2 equals root Z1, and that our short run CID is Z1 star. Okay, some of you have found a couple, I'm about halfway through marking this question, who have said that Z1 equals y squared minus 4 squared, or not 4 squared, minus 4. Those of you who did that learned from your mistakes. That's wrong. Those of you who didn't do that learned from their mistakes. It's wrong. I don't want to see that. I probably wrote or no or something on some of your papers. The more I see it, the more desensitized I'll get, but it's always somewhat of a shock to my math system when people do that. So this is our conditional input demand, which means that our variable cost is the price of our variable input times the quantity, which makes it 10 times y minus 2 squared. And if we want marginal cost, that's dVc dy, which is chain rule 20 times y minus 2 times the derivative of what's inside is just y, or sorry, is just 1. So let's expand that out, and MC is then 20y minus 40. Okay, the optimization rule, the optimal behavior is to set price equal to marginal cost. P equals 20y minus 40, P plus 40 equals 20y, y equals P over 20 plus 2. Okay, so that's your short run supply, but we're not done yet. If you've done this much, you got a C, because there's no way to say for sure that the that they're not operating at a loss on average here. So we have to do something with average variable cost related to marginal cost. Even if you said that this is always upward sloping, so the average has to be less than the thing, that's okay. That's sufficient for a proof. But let's go through one of the many ways that you can do this. Okay. So the condition for not being shut down is that marginal cost or price has to be at least as much as average variable cost. Okay, so we already know that marginal cost is 20y minus 40. Okay, but what's average variable cost? Well, it's variable cost divided by y. Okay, so I'm just going to take a brief aside here and expand y minus 2 squared. Okay, and variable cost is that times 10. So let's go ahead and now average variable cost is variable cost over y. So we're just going to divide this thing by y. It's 10 times y minus 4 plus 4 over y. And bringing this in, I'm just going to multiply the 10 through. Okay, so we're still looking for marginal cost greater than or equal to average variable cost. Okay, so I'm going to cancel out these 40s because there's a negative 40 on both sides. I'm going to subtract the 10y. 40 over y, which means that 10y squared greater than or equal to 40, y squared greater than or equal to 4, or y greater than or equal to 2. Alright, because we're not considering the case where output is negative, so we don't have to worry that negative 2y could be, or negative 2 for a value of y would also match this, this constraint, because we're not worried about negative y's. Okay, so I've got that MC is greater than or equal to AVC when y is greater than or equal to 2. So what is that in terms of price? Well, I have an equation here that settles price and output. So 2 equals P over 20 plus 2. You can probably see where this is going. 0 equals P over 20. P equals 0. So marginal cost is greater than average variable cost when your price is equal to 0. Okay, so there's no shutdown point for this. But you do need to show that you've done some fiddling, or at least that you recognize that marginal cost is going to be always greater than average variable cost for any positive y. And I think that's it for this question. Actually, interestingly, when you don't have Cobb-Douglas, this supplier will supply y equal to 2 even if p is 0. So that's why we tend to use the Cobb-Douglas. But it's not incorrect to say that there's a positive supply if price is 0 because the producer is indifferent between the two. Okay, so the next question is a firm has variable cost of 3y squared plus 6. And again, we're asking for the short run supply function, right? So this gets a little more complicated than the one we just did, but we can still probably handle it. Okay, so we have VC equals, 3y squared plus 6. Okay, so then marginal cost equals dVC dy equals 6y. Okay, so supply becomes P equals 6y, y equals P over 6. That seems pretty easy, right? If you're ever answering a 10-mark question that is over in, what does that look like, 3-4 lines, you haven't done enough, I will almost guarantee. So let's consider that there's probably a shutdown point for this firm, and that we have to find that. Okay, so now we need to look at average variable cost, and since I did it with the inequality route last time, I will do it with the minimum value of average variable cost route this time, just so you can see what's happening. Okay, so this is variable cost over y, which is 3y plus 6y. I just like to say that. Okay, so now we need to find the minimum value of something. What do? Well, we take, right, so this looks something like this. We want to find out where the derivative, aka the slope, is 0. For more on finding the minimum value of things, consult the math review. But anyways, we're going to take the derivative of this thing. It's 3 plus negative 6 over y squared, as near as I can tell. Yep. And we're going to set that equal to 0. So that means that 3 equals 6 over y squared. 3y squared equals 6. I'm going to come up here to this line so that y squared equals 2, and then y equals root 2 at the minimum value of average variable cost. So now to actually find the minimum value of average variable cost, we have to go ahead and plug in this solution back into our original function. So min ABC equals 3 root 2 plus 6 over root 2. Okay? So this gives us our shutdown point, right? If price is greater than or equal to the minimum value of average variable cost, then we produce. So our actual supply function is that y equals 0 if p is less than plus 6 over root 2, and y equals p sixths if p greater or equal to that same thing. I can already tell you that a lot of you are going to lose marks for that. Maybe just a little bit about my marking philosophy while we're sort of all together. Maybe I can help you explain some of your grades. I sort of think that if you get a question perfect, there's no doubt that you got it perfect. You're going to get 10 out of 10. If you made one little math error and knew exactly what you're doing otherwise, I give you 9 out of 10. Um, if you made a math error fairly early on and carried it through, you probably got 8 out of 10, which is still a B plus, which is more than I think that you probably would deserve in that case. But hey, grade inflation is a real thing. If you sort of don't really know what you're doing, kind of stumble your way into something that looks like the answer, you probably get 5 or 6, which I consider to be a pass or a low C. Incidentally, I think that someone who sort of meets the expectations and does average should probably be right around a C plus or a C. Someone who slightly exceeds expectations is a B, and someone who is perfect is perfect and gets an A. Where I come from in the States, there is no A plus, so I sort of am reticent to give away really good grades. That's sort of my background and now your problem. But anyways, that little needless aside should maybe give you some kind of clue about why your grade is what it is. Of course, if you have any questions, you can stop by my office. It is Kenneth Taylor Hall 706. I'm here all day Tuesday, sort of before noon on Monday, and then depending on the seminar, most of the day Friday. I'm not here Wednesday and Thursday. I do answer email, and I'm trying to answer YouTube comments, although there haven't been any yet. So thank you for your time with this review, and I will hopefully post some more videos on how to do some of the problems in the near future.